has only partial vision, only from one eye, but he is our life. And so it is in these two capacities that I'm very grateful to Firoz that he has brought me here for what has turned out to be an absolutely splendid initiative. I remember the first conversation about holding a gathering of this kind when our sites were very modest. But the idea was that we should really do a big thing so that awareness, what we were just told about the 3 A's, awareness and action, all these things spread. And now you can measure the scale and visibility that this occasion has gone when we have one of India's greatest artists, Mr. Nasiruddin Shah, come here for this. That in the last 30 years, there really has been a great change in India towards the disabled. They used to be sort of, they used to be hidden in closets. And parents would, in a sense, feel guilty or ashamed. And I remember when the first school for spastic children was set up in Bombay, and Nargis had helped a great deal, Mrs. Nargis Dutt, and then Meetu's sister Meeta had set up the first school in Delhi. And it was just in 2 rented rooms when we first started with our child there. And now, as you have just seen, 1,000 persons are helped in one institution here, 10,000 have been helped in another institution. So there has been a great change. At that time, there was not even a single institution for, let us say, cerebral palsy children. But the task is oceanic because of we are a large country, but then we have a large number of people who are disabled and many persons whose disabilities are not even recognized because of malnutrition, and they are not able to develop to their full potential. So everybody must help. And I would always, and you know, this phrase which has been used as the legend for the Inclusion Summit, that everyone is good at something, it applies to us also. There is in each of us a capacity to help others. And we must use that. We can help directly, and this, unfortunately, this is done most often by persons who have themselves suffered a blow. A nephew, a niece, a son or a daughter who has had difficulties, and then we are awakened to a new world. But we can also help by employing them, and it's such a good thing that Enable India is doing in actually seeing the capacity of a person and then devising office-based solutions. And it is wonderful that such premier institutions like ANZ are now pioneering the employment of persons who, by a small invention, by a small development in software, are now able to do fully functional jobs. SAP has taken an enormous lead in employing persons with autism by recognizing that they have a special ability for scanning, for memory, so that a 20,000 line software, they will be able to spot the error at once. So such things are things that we can all do to help. And the main point, I feel, is that we must, one thing is we must give money, etc. I'm not underrating that. Everything requires money. But the most important thing is each of us has some skill, and that should be our donation. We should deploy our skill to help others. And if somebody is a chartered accountant, you can help an organization working for the disabled by looking after the accounts. You are a software person in every way. I'll tell you, in our case, our child cannot, he doesn't see well, so he cannot read. But his hearing is very good. Now, when I go abroad, you have all these audio books. And the great artists have recorded for children, they have recorded for, of course, the plays, etc. are available. Now, but our son does not understand English that fluently. And in India, the recordings for entertaining things, for good things, are just not available. So, in our case, all his nieces, all his cousins, his grandmother, everybody makes tapes for him, and he has a library of tapes, and he knows them by heart. So a simple skill, each of us can record. We cannot record as great artists, but we can record enough to communicate the joy of a morning to a child. So please, that is one important thing. And you know, the simplest change in a product can change a person's life. मैं आपको बतलाता हूं, हमारे बच्चा जो है, वो उसको अगर आप चम्मच पकड़ाएं और कहें कि भी आप आदित्य चावल खाओ, he will take his hand like this. He can't bring it. So the spoon goes here, he can't take it. But if a designer just bends the spoon, his hand goes there, but the spoon is in his mouth. But if you ask him to now pick up the chawal, it will slide off the plate. But if you have a thali which has a wall, the spoon will go, it will rest on the wall, and he can pick it up. But he can't control the force of his hand. So the thali will go off the table. But if you make a cavity in the table and the thali is put in that, the thali will not slide off. A simple thing. Children, there was a wonderful artist who came, and some of the children can paint. Both of these paintings have been done by, as Feroz was telling me, by a young lady who has autism. They have beautiful paintings. We would not imagine the colors that she has thought of. Now, but some children can't hold a brush. They can't hold a pencil. But they devised a small, what do you call, a material. जैसे plasticine होता है, material by which it solidifies after you have gripped it. You grip it, then you keep it, it will become solid. So in that thing, you put a pencil when it is malleable. It then just stays there. And there are pencils of different colors, and they can be held like this. I can't hold a pencil this way. If my hand can't go, I can't hold the pencil, it will fall. But stuck in that, I can move it. It's a simple device. Some children can't do that. मगर जैसे वो टेक्सटाइल के वो छापे होते हैं, जिससे टेक्सटाइल की डिजाइन बनता है, so that was taken, a stamp pad, the design is put, he puts it on a piece of paper, and you have a beautifully good designed wrapping paper. But it is a uniform color. So somebody said, okay, we just put 3 different types of ink in the stamp pad. So जो एक मोहर है, उस पर 3 रंग आ जाते हैं. So you have different colors. But now he can't pick up the paper and put the next paper. So a simple thing was done, that you have a roller which he can move with his arm, and that brings the next paper, and this goes this way, and then the next paper comes. Just see, every single step in that My wife has now Parkinson's for 27 years. She can't tie her button. She can't tie. But you replace the buttons with Velcro. You changed things. You've given confidence. You've given that she doesn't feel dependent. The point I want to illustrate is that every one of us has this minimal skill. There are very good designers who will design these wonderful wheelchairs which are motorized. But each of us can think of a simple solution which will actually help change a life, the quality of life for a person. Even if we don't do that, every one of us sitting in this hall has some contact somewhere. In a corporation, in a government, a department. And you know that in India, even to do good work is so difficult. So if you can ease the way of the persons who are helping the disabled through your skill, one, or just through your contact.
Was just telling us that I'm sure there is not another professor who was the dean of 3 faculties, the principal of 3 colleges, and the head of 7 departments, which range from communication and journalism to psychology to linguistics to philosophy to education to commerce and to business management. So it is a very great honor, and I am very grateful to the organizers for having asked me to speak on this occasion on a subject which is obviously of great importance to the country, and a subject which you can expect Mr. Shourie to always focus on. And he has already given us a very telling introduction to the dangers that we face, to the dangers the country faces, and I will not dwell too long on them. He has mentioned the salient factors, and if you see, I mean, you just look anywhere and you know the answer to the question which he has posed. In Jammu and Kashmir, as he was saying, you see, at a time when, actually speaking, there has been a great fall in the extent of violence in Kashmir and a great fall in the number of fatalities because of terrorism. This was a golden opportunity for us to focus on improving administration. But what have we done? As he reminded us, at this time, when everything was settled almost in our favor, we sent these 3 fellows whom nobody knew as so-called interlocutors. We don't know. As Mr. Jagmohan has always said, that the problem of Kashmir is not in Srinagar. He has said it is not even in Islamabad. The problem is in Delhi. The same thing can be said today about Assam. At least for 25 years, persons like me, like Hanuman Chaudhary, like the Assam students, have been saying the same thing. These have been documented by the Census Commissioner, this infiltration. Some of us have compared the population in the neighboring districts in Bangladesh and the districts in Assam and shown how the Assam population has grown by so much more than the Bangladesh population. General Sinha has written about it when he was a governor. The National Security Advisory Board has focused on it. The Supreme Court in the Sonowal case has said that this is now an imminent and grave threat to the security and integrity of India. So what do you need? But the same thing, the problem of Assam is not in Guwahati, it is not in Dhaka, it is again in Delhi. In the same way, you take a third symptom. These are all symptoms. You see, why is it that the Bangladeshis don't cross the other side and or trek and go beyond Assam into China? Why not? On the other side, why is it that the West Pakistan Punjabis don't come into Punjab? Because if they come, we will kill them. I am from Punjab. I know. You take our land and see what happens. But the poor pacifist SMEs are taken advantage of, and the governments in Delhi go on spinning legalism. In the same way, a third symptom is a person like this fellow Afzal Guru. You see, it is a, I mean, what is everybody in India says, oh, Parliament is the supreme institution. Here is a man who has been convicted, who is sentenced to death, has been confirmed by the Supreme Court, but the state of India's hands tremble so much that they cannot carry out the orders of the Supreme Court, whether it is on Assam or whether it is on Afzal Guru. And the perverse thing is society. It is a society which has now lost the capacity to draw a line. Chaudhary Sahib was reminding us, co-religionists. There is a line about somebody being from India or not being from India. On Afzal Guru, arcane debates are going on whether death penalty should be there at all in a liberal society. He has attacked the parliament. But we cannot draw the line between death penalty to an ordinary criminal and death penalty to a terrorist. So all these are symptoms of the same thing. In J&K, as I mentioned to you, that when the situation becomes favorable, we create the problem again. In Assam, we neglect the problem which everybody is shouting and screaming about. And then we go on issuing appeals for peace. In Afzal Guru's case, this incapacity to draw a line, incapacity to carry out orders of the highest organs of the state. In Jammu, after all, Kashmir is Jammu and Kashmir, there is not a single leader, not one leader who has been to the Hindu refugees in Jammu. They are refugees in our own country. But there is not one person, not one leader who has gone, not one Chidambarams and so on, home ministers gone to them. Why? And the same thing will happen in Assam. And the consequence of that is going to be random violence. Why? Because when the state neglects its primary duty, then society takes the law into its own hands. And that is the prospect that we face. So I will just mention a few of the symptoms. Then I will mention to you what I think are the basic premises of governance, of holding the country together, which we have lost, which we have discarded, and which must be resurrected. And then I will list a few things which need to be done. Some of them are small things, some of them are major things. And what requires to be done in the meantime by each one of us, as Chaudhary Sahib's example shows, as Justice our judge's example shows, what each of us can do in his little bit. So the situation today is that the government has lost control of the situation. And the Prime Minister has lost control of the government. Actually, we cannot find him. वो रोते ही नजर आते हैं कि मैं इसलिए नहीं कर सकता, मैं उसलिए नहीं कर सकता, 2G में. In 2G is a classic case. Sometimes his explanation was, what could I do? The two ministers did not agree. And then when the correspondence showed that those Chidambaram and Raja had agreed on every point, he said in Parliament, what could I do? The two ministers had agreed. So there is a limerick about the Prime Minister. It is the old limerick which applies to him. That the one who was not there yesterday, the one who wasn't there yesterday, was again not there today. How I wish to God he'd go away. And the third point is that Mrs. Sonia Gandhi has lost control of the Congress party. Andhra is a good example, Maharashtra is a good example, Kerala is a good example. What Gogoi is saying today about the central government is a good example. That she has become, and actually speaking, if I may say so, that is the condition of all political leaders in all political parties today. They are the instruments through which we can hold the country together, because you and I can't. They have to do it. We can only appeal to them. We can only hope they will do something, look at the situation and do something. But all of them are in the same category. They are now these wayside shrines. See, when the truck driver is going, he does not start, throws 2 paisa and then drives exactly as he wants to do. If you see the conduct of any chief minister, it is exactly that. So this is a very grave situation, and even more grave I feel is the fact that there is now a complete homogenization of all political parties, which are the main instruments through which the country is to be run and through which democracy functions. You have the same corruption, you have the same factionalism, you have the same liberation from ideas and certainly from any ideals. They are all knowledge proofs. They are all equally jealous of expertise. And a certain timidity and fright has entered their heart of every single political party. They do not speak the truth. They do not speak the whole truth on any issue whatsoever. And they are as ignorant as each other about what the people are feeling. मतलब कितनी political parties की meetings होती हैं? नहीं sir, we should oppose petrol price hike. Why? And sir, it will send a good signal. We should block parliament on price rise. Why? It will send a good signal. They don't know whether the people are receiving the signal or not, in spite of this telephone in every hand. And what is that? The people are not coming out on the streets for them. But they think, sitting in their rooms and meetings, that no, if only we block the parliament like this, then a good signal will go to our core constituency. This is the phrase I got sick of hearing again and again in parliament. But they will not speak the whole truth on reservations. What they will tell you in private is completely different from the stand they will take in public in all political parties. And this ignorance of what is in the minds of the people is manifest at the time that each of them is as surprised by his victory as by his defeat. So therefore, in effect, there is in India today a one-party rule. They have different signboards, but they are the same nature in their political thought. And this is the problem. Why? Hanuman